Welcome to the Vol Patriot Podcast. I am your host, the Vol Patriot, Patriot of the Volunteer Nation, and my co-host, Jay Mello. This podcast is for the people, by the people, specifically Tennessee football, but also college football as a whole. We're going to cover weekly updates, pre-game and post-game reviews, in-game specifics, and of course, hot takes. We will talk about things that most sports podcasts are afraid to discuss. You'll hear it here and only here on the Vol Patriot Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, go Big Orange, go Vols. Vol faithful, I'd like to apologize that we, the Vol Patriot Podcast, have not been able to push out our usual content as early as we like. Unfortunately, Jay Mello has had an undisclosed medical situation and has taken this week off to recover. What a lot of you guys may not know is Jay Mello is my editor and social media manager. She helps manage the social media platforms that the Vol Patriot holds, as well as engage with you guys. She's such a big deal to this podcast, and we definitely appreciate her and all she's done. So, with that being said, praying for her and wishing her a fast recovery as I try to piece all this together in her stead, and I'll try to do the best I can. Now, my initial reaction was very much frustration and anger. Like, how did we lose this game? Now that I've had some time to think, now that I've had some time to listen to other podcasters and radio stations and so on, I think I have a different approach to this entire situation regarding Tennessee and what has now been fired Josh Heupel. And I like to say this. Josh Heupel has done so much for this program, and we do as Vol fans have to look deep and go, you know what? He brought us out of the dark ages. But at the same time, there has to be accountability for where we want to be and where we are now. Josh Heupel has shown us we have the talent, we have the ability to be in a championship contender situation. However, that's just not the case this year because we haven't done what we need to do defensively and offensively when it mattered the most. This past Saturday against Oklahoma was one of the biggest fails in Neyland Stadium that I've seen in a long time. There's been plenty of games where we lost straight out because we just weren't the better team. And there's been games straight up that we just weren't the best coach team. But rarely have I seen a Josh Heupel team beat itself so bad in Neyland Stadium that Oklahoma had no choice but to win this game. That's what I saw, guys. And I think a lot of fans are going, why did we lose this game if we're so much a better team than we have been in the past? And I can't disagree with them. I can't disagree with the fan that pays top dollar for the NIL and everything else that we have to pay for to want a change at head coach because things aren't happening in year 5 that should be happening in year 5, regardless of if we didn't know we were going to have a quarterback or not. All these are now excuses, guys, because it's not like Joey Aguilar has been a disappointment this season. Joey Aguilar has been one of the bright spots. Our running game's been a bright spot. Let's just say our offense has been a bright spot this entire season. It's been a bright spot since Josh Heupel's gotten there. But what hasn't been up to par has been our defense. And the one year we were actually really good, were we really good? And that's where the Tim Banks conversation comes in. I am not requesting that Tennessee or Danny White fire Josh Heupel because of this season. But what I am requesting is that Josh Heupel, and when I say this, these are the key things I believe Tennessee needs to change if Josh Heupel wants to continue to be the head coach of Tennessee. And the biggest thing is Tennessee, one, needs a strength and conditioning coach with an iron will that's going to get our football team mentally prepared as well as physically prepared for the SEC. I'm starting to believe that we just don't have that edge physically or mentally to compete in the SEC at a high level. Also, we have to get rid of our defensive coordinator. That just has to happen. Tim Banks is a good defensive coordinator. He's just not Tennessee good. He's not Tennessee great. We need a guy that's going to come in there and coach our football team from head to toe. What I mean by that is, look, guys, it is apparent. I've been saying it, whether or not other stations, whether or not other reporters, whatever you want to call them, didn't want to believe me. Cat is now out of the bag. The technique that we're playing with sucks. They are not playing at a defensive level that is even remotely respectable. Our corners don't know how to jam or properly reroute wide receivers when they step up to the line, hit while we play 50 yards off the ball. Ridiculous. All right. The fact that Tim Banks feels like he has to adjust the defense because the technique and the understanding of the game of our players is so poor, well, that falls on you, defensive coordinator. Whose job is it to prepare these players game in, game out so they can compete at a high level? That's the defensive coordinator alongside the position coaches. Now, when I say position coaches, I am completely excluding Rodney Gardner. He has been the main reason our defense has looked so good thanks to that D-line. So understand that. With that being said, notice how when Mike Ekeler has left, the linebackers looked a lot worse. Our special teams have been greatly affected. I'm just saying, we shouldn't have let him go. Give him the money. Position coaches matter, guys. Notice how Golish left and the offense suffered greatly. I think there was a moxie to these guys and some other guys who were let go or left that has affected the mentality of this team. Look, guys, we're tough in some areas, but we're nowhere near where we need to be to compete in the SEC game in, game out. And guys, that falls on the position coaches, that falls on the conditioning coaches, that falls on Tim Banks, and ultimately that falls on Josh Heupel's shoulders. So this brings me to my point. From what I've heard, a lot of Tennessee fans are requesting or wanting Josh Heupel to be fired. They're upset, they're angry, and you know what? They have a right to be upset. And they're saying, hey, we want someone other than Josh Heupel. Now, the media and some Tennessee fans also have countered and saying, are you crazy? Look where we came from. We were 3-7. And other fan bases are like, yeah, you guys were 3-7. You know, won't you just be happy with going 10-3? And here's why Tennessee fans, real Tennessee fans, are asking for Josh Heupel to be fired. Because they're not satisfied with the product. Not because Josh Heupel's offense has been poor since he's been at Tennessee. More that this season, when no one else expected Tennessee to be good, he did. He expected Tennessee to be good. And he showed us a product on the field that reflected a team that had the templates to go to a playoff and win at least a game. And here we are sitting on the outside looking in going, wow, we were so close to getting to the playoffs. Because guess what, guys? The opportunity of getting to a playoffs, that's done. You're not playing for a playoff bid anymore. Josh Heupel made us believe that Tennessee should be in that conversation. That's why they're asking for Josh Heupel to be fired. Because if you can't get it in year 5 with a quarterback like Joey Aguilar, when are you? Because I don't see the defense getting better. It's been 5 years, and all we can talk about is, well, Jermod McCoy is hurt, and that's why. I mean, they have fans believing this garbage of, well, if Jermod McCoy wasn't injured and Ricky Gibson wasn't injured, then we would be 8-1 or we'd be undefeated right now. What about next year, guys? What that tells me is you have been fortunate enough to get 2 guys that might affect the defense. And I have to say might affect the defense in a way in which we would play much better in the secondary. But that still doesn't negate the fact that your play calling has been poor. Throughout the tenure of Josh Heupel, Tim Banks has been poor. Let's just go ahead and be honest. Let's be real. His play calling has been poor. And if it wasn't for Rodney Gardner, Tim Banks would have been exposed a long time ago. But Rodney Gardner existed. But Mike Ekeler existed. These position coaches have helped make the defense look really good. But now here we are. Year 5. None of those guys are there. Golish isn't there. This year, Josh Heupel had to revamp his offense because, well, it wasn't as effective as it was since Golish has been gone. Makes you wonder just how good Golish really was for Tennessee's offense, understanding what Josh Heupel wants to do and understanding what needed to be done. It truly shows that he's not there anymore. Now, kudos to Josh Heupel for changing his offense and revamping it and changing in a way that has really been effective this season. And so that brings us to our next point. Why has the offense been wildly inconsistent in big games? I mean, look at the Mississippi State game. Our offense took some time to really get going. That game was more of a dogfight than it needed to be. Granted, there were some bad calls, missed calls, no calls, whatever you want to call it. Our defense struggled to stop the run. All right. There were some things in that game. We talk about the Alabama game. They just really disappeared in that first half. And in the second half, still were missing, some catches and so on. Now, granted, our wide receivers can kind of get a little bit of a break because, the depth was an issue. But across the board, the offense just wasn't where it needed to be. And then, of course, the defense was inconsistent in that game. They did enough to where our offense should have been able to put up points and win that game, but the defense was a concern in that game. And now you look at the Oklahoma game, which none of it makes sense. Our defense played actually pretty well. Now, there were some times they didn't play well, but it wasn't as bad as the Alabama game, and it sure enough wasn't as bad as the Kentucky game. Our defense played well enough to win this game. Now, Tim Banks still did some Tim Banks things. 3rd and 16, and we drop our corners and the safeties 20 yards off the ball. Mateer says, well, I'm a real athlete. I'm a dog. I'm going to go out here and get the first down because it's going to take you a second to even get 10 yards up the field to make a stop. And, I got one block, and I get 22-something yards. It happened a lot, guys. Tim Banks did it over and over again, assuming it was going to change. Nothing changed. You can't be a defensive coordinator at Tennessee and do some asinine things like that. That's just ridiculous. But he did it. The reason why Josh Heupel's facing the scrutiny he's facing, well, anytime you decide to throw it to a freshman tight end and he doesn't even know he's getting the ball on a crucial, gotta have it 4th and 1, yeah, you're going to receive some hate for that. Josh Heupel is fairly receiving hate because of the poor play calling in a game you had to win, because this is a playoff game. So on one side, that is what the fan base is feeling, the frustration of it all. How dare you make us believe in this football team just so you can fail this football program because of poor play calling and not holding your defense accountable? Because that's what's happening or not happening behind closed doors. All we can do is sit and speculate, but the truth is what shows up on the football field. Someone's not being held accountable. And Tennessee fans look to Josh Heupel to make it right, and it hasn't been done. I think last season kept Tim Banks' job afloat, but I think this season Josh Heupel needs to make a change. I think Josh Heupel sees now, or should see, that he has to have a defensive coordinator who can coach complementary to his coaching alongside holding the position coaches accountable for their style of play. That's not happening with Tim Banks. This is where I get with Tim Banks. He's sitting up in the press box, coaching to the guys on the field, to the position coaches on the field, and telling them what he wants. Remember that Arkansas game where Joey Aguilar was pushed out of bounds? Should have been a flag. Wasn't, by the way. And he ends up destroying Arkansas's communications. Well, Tim Banks had to come down to make it fair for Arkansas, so everyone had to go back to an old school coaching style, play calling on the field, whatever you want to call it. Tim Banks didn't look happy. He wanted to be upstairs. Like, that's your defensive coordinator, not wanting to be downstairs, right? Talking to his guys, firing them up. I don't get that impression from Tim Banks. I don't get the impression that Tim Banks is down there telling his guys, let's go and win this ball game. We got to have that. This is Tennessee. So that is the Vol fans' perspective, looking from the outside in, seeing this. Now, on the other hand, you have the Volunteer fans who are truly complacent. Hey, we're just happy we're not in the dark days. Hey, I remember when Jeremy Pruitt and Butch Jones and blah, blah, blah. Oh, cool. Nice. Nice of you to remember. But do you remember the 90s? Some of us may not remember the 90s, but those who do remember the 90s where we were dominant, you remember when we won a national title? Do you remember, for those who might be from a different time frame, when Johnny Mayers was there, when General Neyland was there, and guys in between? Tennessee was a force to be reckoned with. This is a championship caliber university. Times may have changed, but the desire and the fan base has not. So, with that being said, what are we putting out as a product for Tennessee? What are we saying about Tennessee when we have other programs like Oklahoma fans chiming in on conversations saying, hey, have you guys ever been that good though? You know, you guys were 3-7. You guys are talking about short-term things that are happening within the past 10, 15 years, but wasn't always the case. As a whole, this program is championship caliber, but we're missing something. And Tennessee fans see it right before us, and they don't see much changing. Everyone's going, the media's going, hey, you know, stick with Josh Heupel, things are going to change. Not if Tim Banks is still there. Not if we don't get some position coaches in there that help push this football team forward. If we don't do any of those things, this is the best we're going to be, 10-3. We're going to lose the big games because Josh Heupel, no offense, he loses some of these games that he should be winning. The only time Tennessee actually looks dominant is when they're in Neyland Stadium. So when you lose at home, and not because the other team was better than you, but just because you broke out the paddle and started whooping yourself, oh, we got a problem. But I'm also say this might sound a little conspiracy based. We already know that the referees have not really been on Tennessee's side, and I'm not going to dive too deep on that. But what I am going to say is, do you think the media really gives a daggum about Tennessee? They don't give you the respect you deserve, Tennessee. And this is the truth. They talk about everyone else but you. But the moment you start talking about getting rid of good old Josh Heupel, oh no, Tennessee fans, be happy that you're not where you used to be. I've never heard anyone that wants to be a champion say, well, I'm just happy with getting my butt whooped every so often. No, you go back to the gym and you put that fire in, you put that work in, you get better. You don't want to just keep getting knocked out in the second, third round because, well, we used to get knocked out before the fight even started. And so now we're at least getting knocked out in the second and third round. What? Said no champion ever. And that's what we see. Complacentness. We see almost a level of mediocrity, to be honest. Anytime we see what we saw last weekend against Oklahoma at home, when the lights were the brightest, playoff opportunities on the line, dark mode, and we play like we just did, yeah, Josh Heupel's going to catch some flack for that. Tennessee deserves better. And if that's not Josh Heupel, then Tennessee deserves better. And we need to go and get better. Understand that if there's not better out there, you just have to roll with what you're going to have to roll with. But Josh Heupel, and I'm not saying, when I say this, I'm not saying he needs to be fired this year. But what I am saying is if Josh Heupel doesn't go and get himself a proven defensive coordinator that can hold his guys accountable from head to toe, and we're talking about position coaches to players, accountable, then you're not going to be a head coach of Tennessee much longer. Because if Tim Banks is as good as we get, and we just hope we get the Jermod McCoys of the world, come on, guys. Jermod McCoy can't be the only reason Tennessee should be winning football games. That's one player. Jay Mello said it best. It's a management issue. There is no way you're relying on one guy to be the difference. I know Alabama didn't. When Nick Saban was there, Alabama had talent after talent after talent. Now we understand that that's no longer the case, that the college football world has changed. But you should at least be too deep, guys. After the great years that we've had at Tennessee coming back and the turnaround, why aren't we deep at the defensive back position? Why don't we have the guys? Why are we allowing guys to go other places because we're not willing to put up the money, but we're willing to keep Boo Carter? That's a whole nother conversation. But I digress, guys. The point of what I'm trying to make is this. The media, everyone outside of the Tennessee program wants Tennessee right where they are. Mediocre. Basic. 10-9 season wins, no playoff opportunities. Just kind of sitting right there because they don't want to see Tennessee truly back. That's just the truth of the matter. They don't want to see Tennessee back on top. So the media tells you, hey, be happy with what you got. Be happy with Josh Heupel and what he's done because you could be wherever, whatever. Well, even Alabama had to get to a point where they were tired of just being okay. And what they do, they went out and got Nick Saban. Now, I'm not saying we need to do the same thing. What I am saying is if Josh Heupel is our guy, you have to go and make changes in the offseason. And if you do not, you no longer are our guy. And someone else has to fill those shoes. But Josh, come on, man. How long are you going to allow Tennessee to find themselves in these games where we're much better than the other team, where we should be winning, and yet we're in a dogfight because of lack of discipline, lack of focus, lack of technique, lack of execution, all these things that you highly speak on, but yet is not happening in a season where no one saw us coming, in a season where multiple teams, there's parity, they're not as good as they should be. Tennessee should be capitalizing and winning these games and taking control of the SEC. If you can't do it when the SEC kind of is in a down year, and when I say kind of is in a down year, you look across the board and there's a lot of SEC teams who aren't that good. Oklahoma wasn't that good. Alabama was not that good. Georgia has not been that good. Tennessee should have won each and every one of those games. Georgia game, our kicker failed us. The defense failed us. Alabama, our offense failed us. Oklahoma, the whole team failed us ultimately. I mean, the defense could only do so much for so long before they started giving up some plays. And, of course, Tim Banks as a whole has failed us. Like, there's just been problems across the board in a season where no one expected us to do great things, and we were in a position to do those things. But we, the football team, fumbled the bag. No one took the bag from us. We gave it to them. We gave it to them. Tennessee fans see that, Josh. There are some who don't see it. Some are just so... Tennessee fans have such Vol syndrome that they'd rather be 9-4, 10-3, as long as it means we're somewhat relevant. I'm not okay with that. I'm sorry. I was there when we won the 98 championship and the SEC championship and thought this is what we are supposed to be doing. I still remember that. I still remember when we beat Florida at Florida, and that was still a thing. I remember when we won these games. Other people may not remember, and other people may make jokes, but the truth is, everyone gets scared when Tennessee's good. Oh, and everyone wants to beat Tennessee. Think about it. Teams show up to play Tennessee, but they won't show up against other teams. Why is that? Look, guys, if you can't do the math and understand media why Tennessee wants Josh Heupel fired, then you don't understand Tennessee. And Josh Heupel, if you can't make the adjustments that need to be made, you're not the coach for us. And I love Josh Heupel, and I think Josh Heupel has done great things. So don't get it confused when I say I think Josh Heupel has done a good enough job to get us to this point. But to get to the next point, Josh himself has to evolve as a head coach. And if we're not doing that, then what are we doing? Vol Faithful, thank you for tuning in and listening to the Vol Patriot podcast. We appreciate your continued support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We really do like hearing from you guys, no matter what your team is, and hearing what your thoughts are on the game and what you think should have happened. But as always, go Big Orange, go Vols.